Well, welcome to another episode of the Data Dialogues podcast. Today we'll be discussing dirty data horror stories. And I am your host, Larissa Bedgood. I am head of marketing here at PGM. And with me today is Kim Vance, head of business development. Hey, Kim.
Hey, Larissa, how are you?
Good. Excited to see what kind of horror stories we have. So before we get started, let's face it, with AI running the show these days and personalization driving literally every campaign that we can try to stuff it into, the need for accurate data has really never been more critical. It's so important for marketers to have the right data. When your data is dirty, everything that is built on top of that data foundation really begins to crumble. There's bad data that can lead to incorrect insights, poor or wasted ad spend. And when you send the wrong personalization to a consumer, really can lead to a lot of lost trust. And on average, businesses can spend up to 30% of their time just trying to interpret bad or unclear data. And that's a massive amount of time. And we're not even talking like strategy, that's just cleanup time. So 30% of their time just trying to figure out what these incorrect or dirty insights are trying to say and make sense of it. And obviously, as we said, that's costing companies millions in lost productivity. And of course, the dollar signs tied to that are pretty massive as well. So when it comes down to it, as Kim and I have talked about frequently, and Kim being on the front lines with our clients, it's not just a nice to have, it's really the foundation of marketing today. And if your data is dirty, your strategy is going nowhere. It's already broken. But we will get into that maybe a little bit later at the end of the episode. Right now, let's dive into some truly jaw-dropping dirty data stories. And here's some real examples where a single mistake turned into $1 million nightmare. All right, why don't you kick us off?
So the first one takes place in South Korea in 2018. An employee at Samsung Securities was entering dividend payments for the staff, except they accidentally typed shares instead of one. So instead of paying out cash, the system created 2.8 billion ghost shares of stock worth around $105 billion. Within 37 minutes, 16 employees had sold off some of those non-existent shares, causing the stock to nosedive 12% and wiping out $300 million in market value. So you could call it a textbook fat finger, but it's also a perfect reminder that when systems don't have a built-in validation or check systems, one small human character keystroke mistake can snowball into a financial nightmare.
Yeah, it is crazy. And just think of when somebody's entering like marketing facts or data into a system. Obviously, hopefully you're not going to lose 105 billion or whatever they lost, but it can really add up.
Yeah, a character and a zip code, a phone number, spelling a street address wrong, any of them.
Is that something, Kim, that when clients come to us, like some of the typical standardization that they will do, is that around just like data sets where we can correct numbers or phone numbers or?
It can be. So there are correcting incorrect information is another step. But the beginning starts with standardization. So in order to be able to check the data, it all needs to look the same. And then you can validate whether something makes sense, whether it's with the postal service, if it's a postal address, is a phone number formatted correctly? Does it have an actual area code or exchange? And then is it tied to the right person? So from that perspective, it's a multi-step process, but it typically starts with just making sure that everything looks the same.
So this next one this happened in 2022, and Equifax announced that thanks to a coding error or a legacy server, millions of people were given inaccurate credit scores. And for 3 weeks, major lenders across the US were working off of bad data. Some of the people were denied loans that they should have been approved for. Others got better rates than they probably shouldn't have been qualified for. And more than 300 scores were off by at least 25 points, which is pretty massive. I mean,
That's
I
pretty
get
big
excited.
number.
Yeah, I get excited when it moves like two points. And 25 points is a huge disparity. The fallout, unfortunately, there was a class action lawsuit. The stock prices took a hit and a massive trust issue. Again, it's a matter of trust for one of the world's biggest data companies ensued. And this is just another reminder that outdated systems, this was on one of their legacy, their older servers. So outdated systems can happen to from the smallest guy to even these really large organizations. And that's just a good call out that it's not just like in the previous example, like incorrectly entering, but make sure that the system, the database that holds your CRM or your marketing data is also up to date.
Oh, yes.
All right. What's the next one?
Okay. This one goes back a little bit further. It was the JP Morgan Chase London whale loss. You may have heard of this. Back in 2012, JP Morgan Chase, at the time, one of the biggest banks in the world, is reporting record profits. But behind the scenes, one of their very own traders nicknamed it the London whale because they were making massive bets in the credit derivatives market. Now, that's a lot of big words, but basically what it meant is the bank's risk model said everything's fine. Everything's safe, it's balanced, there's nothing to worry about. Except the data feeding that model, incomplete, flawed, full of errors. So ultimately, trades started going south, losses started piling up. By the time it was over and JP Morgan figured out that there was a problem with the data going into the model, they had lost more than $6 billion. The after action review, they call it the official postmortem, called it a failure of data management and governance. Translation, garbage in, garbage out, and nobody was checking the math.
Interesting. I think that it just kind of goes back to even like AI makes things up all the time. And the same thing is like you could have data processes maybe in place, maybe put them in place a couple of years ago, or maybe don't have any. Humans also need to look at that. They need to actually be making sure what's in place is checked. So I think one of the things that I know that we recommend is just do a data assessment, check your data quality. Are you seeing more bounces than usual? And if you are, make sure you have a ongoing data management practice in place. Don't wait until it's too late and things are bouncing left, right, and sideways, or consumers are angry because the personalization is off. Have that up front.
Yep.
All right, so this one happened in 2020. We're going to jump to the UK here. And this was, if you all remember, the peak of the COVID pandemic. Public Health England was tracking daily COVID-19 cases using, of all things, Microsoft Excel. So if you are using spreadsheets, and I know a lot of people are using spreadsheets still for tracking leads. We're a B2B company, but a lot of our clients, a lot of our clients are B2C. I've seen cases of still using Excel for things that Excel should not be used for. And the Excel system that the Public Health England was using was not one of the fancier updated cloud systems. We're talking just old school Excel with file size limits. One day their spreadsheet hit its maximum row count but nearly 16,000 new COVID-19 cases literally just vanished. Just like they were gone, never reported. The missing data delayed contact tracing. So if you remember at the time, that was very important. At the beginning of the pandemic, no one knew what was going on with anything. And they were doing a lot of contact tracing at the time. So this missing data delayed that process, and it did lead to some pretty major outbreaks. The official explanation was technical difficulties. The translation, though, was someone trusted Excel to handle a national health crisis.
Clearly, they underestimated their numbers.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that we're on the other side for the most part of that. All right, what else do we have?
Oh, let's call it the everyday business blunder, wasting your marketing spend. So let's bring the conversation to something every one of the listeners can relate to: bad customer data. We've all been there. Email lists get outdated. We live this every day ourselves. We're constantly looking at who's moved, who's not there anymore. Was the email address entered wrong? Did a customer move 3 years ago? Customer data decay is probably about 2% a month. That means up to 25% of your file every year is no longer accurate. And when you're sending campaigns, whether it be direct mail, email, social display, CTV, it doesn't matter. When you're sending and serving ads to bad data, you're wasting your budget. And even more critically, you're harming your own reputation, whether it be with the customers themselves or with the different platforms that you're putting your information through. So, when you think about it, misspelled names, the wrong offer, sending somebody a discount when they just made a purchase, that will kill engagement. It will kill the customer experience. And ultimately, again, it just comes back to your reputation. It is really something to think about, not something you can ignore. And some small effort and some strong practices can save millions of dollars.
Yeah, I think that's such a good call out. It's even something like a misspelled name, just something as simple as that. Or if you get a outreach after you've already purchased a major product, it just kills like the consumer's brand perception. I'm just thinking back of 2 times when that's happened to me, and my name Larissa is always frequently I get, hey Lisa, and when I see hey Lisa, I'm like, okay, like you haven't even taken the time to know me, or you don't have the right person. I won't engage with that company anymore. And that's just the first line. That's 2 words in hi Lisa, and I'm out. So things like that, just cleaning up first names, that's huge. It's a small thing to do, but the impact really is pretty huge.
Sure. And we're recording this around the holidays, so it's really important to pay attention. And look, it used to be difficult to connect purchase data with your CRM system or even with your acquisition efforts. But in the age of technology and AI now, all of that is known in real time. Companies are trying to drive end of year retail business and sales for profitability. But if you're sending discounts to someone who just made a purchase and maybe used a smaller discount or no discount at all, it really is just not a good faith relationship. So it's important to make sure as a marketer that all of the systems are connected, and that someone who just made a purchase is getting the thank you for your purchase and not the, hey, save double what you just spent.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this next one, imagine that you move to a new country, sign up for health insurance, and suddenly your premiums skyrocket. So that's exactly what happened to a guy who moved from Europe to the US. The problem was that somewhere along the way, his height was entered as 1.8 feet instead of 1.8 meters. That means, according to the system, he was about the size of a toddler with a full-grown BMI.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So obviously the algorithms flagged him as like high risk, and his insurance rates went through the roof. It was just a single misplaced decimal, or maybe the decimal was right, but it was the wrong metric system. And that was all it took. So it was just something as seemingly innocuous as the difference between feet and meters It is funny, but until you realize that this kind of data era happens like all the time
All
and
the
not
time.
just in healthcare. This is a example that we could all chuckle about, but yeah, it's numbers. Frequently when they're entered into systems, if you're manually entering a number, it's so easy to mix up the numbers. And that's why, again, you like, okay, you're trying to call somebody or send them an invoice or whatever. If you enter that incorrectly, you need to get that looked at and fixed, and all the good things that Kim does every day with our clients.
Sure.
All right, what else do we have?
Oh, the 200 million year software license. As a company in a software as a service business, we know how this can happen very quickly. So let's just call this another data entry mistake. At a software as a service company, an employee copy and pasted the client's 9-digit ID number into the contract duration field instead of into the account number field. So instead of getting a standard 1-year license, the client was issued a software license valid for 200 million years. Obviously longer than all of our own existence, depending upon which science you subscribe to. Now, obviously the client wasn't ever going to use it for that long, but the system couldn't process that large of a number. So it froze completely and triggered a major billing outage across the entire system. So it didn't impact just the one client, it was the entire customer base, all from putting the number in the wrong field.
Wow. So I guess the lesson from this is if you have a 200 million year software license, try to use it really quickly before the system crashes.
Yes. Put it in your will.
Exactly. All righty. As we wrap up, it's just so important to clean your data. It's not always glamorous. I mean, we get it. Like fixing data is something we do every day for our clients. As marketers ourselves, we're like, okay, let's move on to the fun strategy, the glamorous campaigns and so forth. But you really have to start with that data. When your data is wrong, your insights, your targeting, like literally everything is all going to be skewed. And as you can see, the dirty data can sneak into like literally every opportunity. There's typos and missing fields, outdated info, bad imports. What are some of the other things that you see, Kim, that are just your thoughts about how data can enter a system, or some of the things that you've seen from our own clients?
Let's be candid. The first time you clean up your data, it can be painful because fixing one problem usually uncovers another. And it becomes a little bit of a snowball effect. One record, a misplaced comma or a misplaced pipe delimiter can throw an entire database off. While it might be a little painful, think of it similar to if you haven't worked out in a while. You just start going to the gym and you're going to get yourself into shape. Those first few times going, it's not easy. You're going to have to push yourself. You're going to find muscles in your body you didn't know will hurt. So cleaning up your data is kind of the same thing. You have to kick it into shape, and then going forward, maintaining is so much easier.
Yes, that is a really good call out, because you have to start somewhere, and once you maintain it, it gets a lot easier. And as you mentioned, that's what PGM does best. It's not only cleaning up data, helping you maintain it regularly, but we also can just fill in so many missing details, correct email addresses, verify phone numbers, and just enhance data with really rich insights to boost your entire marketing strategy. So that was super fun to talk about with you today, Kim.
Same.
Yeah, I loved it. And thank you all for hanging with us for another episode. And as always, stay data-driven, stay creative, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.